ain't gonna lie. Anywhere I go in this world, I'm gonna rep my city. My best days in my life and everything was, I'm gonna say, was the Bronx, New York. Some of my best days, some of the best people I ever met was in the Bronx, New York. I went to school at Lehman College in the Bronx, New York. I was born in the Bronx, New York. Raised in Westchester County, but I was born in the Bronx. You can't take the Bronx out of the girl. You can take the girl out the Bronx, but you can't take the Bronx out the girl. Right, Remy? No doubt. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna start sharing some of my poetry because I see, some of my views are going way over head of people, are going way over people's head. So I'm gonna share some of my poetry from back in the day. Thoughts of a Dying Soul, my book I wrote. Well, these poems I wrote years and years and years ago. But how we gonna come behind? It's hard to come behind people like. I'm not gonna say it's hard to come behind them because I think my stuff is fire. I'm not even gonna lie. I've been given a gift. Everybody's gift is different. Everybody's gift touches people in different ways. So ain't no one poet better than the other. Well, you know what I'm saying. Ain't no one poet. I don't like to compare artists. I don't like to compare poets because what this person like may go over the head of another. So, I'm not gonna worry about. My thing is, I don't like competition. You don't like my stuff, I'm not competing with nobody. Okay? So, there's a poem I wrote back in the day called Snow Like Diamonds. For the snow like diamonds fall from the deep dark blue sky, so gracefully and so orderly. Like the patterns of my mind, its content so deep and rooted in its confines, mimics the likeness of black diamonds, that which is rare and almost non-existent. But as I peer through the stormy windows that lead from my soul, I am convinced that the darkness will become desolate with the daylight discovered. But what is the darkness but the opposite of light that the demons of hell cannot fight, and the people have no choice but to take flight? They cannot touch God's people no matter how hard they try. And knowing what I know, it is and forever will be a priceless glow. That is called Snow Like Diamonds. I wrote that poem. I was living in White Plains, New York at the time, and I was outside with my niece who was on the monkey bars or whatever she was doing, sliding down the slide, but I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the snow come down, and they're looking like diamonds. I'm like, wow. I love to go outside when it's snow. There's a peacefulness, there's a calmness, it just puts you in a whole other realm. I don't know if anybody ever experienced that. When I go outside in the snow, there's nobody outside, and you can just feel it's like you're on a new plane. And so that used to inspire me to write. I just love to see the snow come down, and you look at the sky and the lights just glowing through it, and you're like, wow, those look like diamonds. So that's what inspired that poem. As a young person, I was going through hell, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I was trying to figure out life, and sometimes you never figure out life, but you have to ride those waves as they come. If you ever seen a surfer, they can't pick and choose the wave. You have to just surf the wave that comes your way. And if you learn how to do that, life will become easier for you. Trust me, I know. I've been through ups and downs, in valleys, mountains, and hills. And even though I'm not famous, I know what I have. Even as a drummer, I can't play like nobody else. I can try, but I fail to play like everybody else. I know I have a different style of playing. And it doesn't come from, learning from other people. It's something that I was given. Even as a young girl, we didn't have the internet. But I used to sit in my house. When I didn't have a drum set, I was like 3 years old. I used to just bang on the couches, pots and pans, phone books. That's something you young people don't know. We used to have phone books about this thick before there was the internet, before there was a cell phone. The telephone book. If you wanted to find a number, you had to That's how you used to scroll. Now you scroll on the phone. We used to scroll through the telephone book, lick your finger, and the pages were so thin that if you go too hard, you might rip the page. That's how thick the phone book used to be. They used to have smaller ones that was less thick, but the big ones for your county, for the county you were living in, or for the, you had to look it up by city. You kids don't y'all have it so easy. Y'all will never understand what the world was like because you're so engulfed in this electronic world that you're in. But we have those experiences. You can't talk about it. But anyway, here's another poem I wrote back in the day. It's called Life is Like Life's Folly. That's the name of the poem. And it reads, life is like a roaring roller coaster, rearing out of control, ready to leave its tracks at any moment. Not waiting, not wanting, not wavering. Like the silver cast of a register dusted with the sentiment of time. It fades, then springs back up. Actually, it fades, then tarnishes, then springs back up to whip us over and over and over again. That's how life is. Young people, I don't know if you're going to ever experience the things that we did, but you will have ups and downs in life. You will be fighting to keep your head above water. Some of us really. And now look at these kids that's getting famous on the internet and say, wow, they have such an opportunity, something we did not have. But we were just as equally talented, if not more talented than these kids on the internet now. So, like I said, even these celebrity kids, they don't understand the struggle. They really don't. Because everything is right there for them. Here's another poem from my book, Thoughts of a Dying Soul. Was the first poetry book I wrote. But these poems were written over 30 years ago when I was in my, I'm telling my age. Long time ago. Around the time Tupac and Biggie was kicking around, I've been writing since then. But I didn't have the right gender. They wanted to hear what the fellas had to say. That's just my opinion. Of course you gotta say allegedly now. Well, in my opinion, they wasn't hearing me. Nobody was hearing me. I didn't sit down over there. But see, that's their loss. Their loss. Females, keep pushing, no matter what. Don't let people discourage you, because they will. But you got to know who you are. My social studies teacher used to say, do you know who you are? And we used to say, what is she always asking us this question for? Do you know who you are? I dig it now. I have another poem called The Mind. It says, I sit here and wondering why my soul is in so much torment. Torment which I cannot humanly explain. Is it me or isn't it me? My mind drifts and drifts and drifts, but has not found that stillness. What stillness, you say? Oh, that stillness that's seen in freshly baked fluffy snow, which is just falling from the sky. The beauty it exuberates is compelling me to ask why. Now that poem, The Mind, is a poem I did a poetry stand-up one night in White Plains, New York, I think it was. Either White Plains or White Plains, New York? I think it was White Plains, New York. It was a teen night, but they let my old head go up there and do what I had to do. And so after I read The Mind, and I was like, all right, when I do my piece, I'm going to wait around for a little while, then I got to go. I can't stay because I have to get back. But as I tried to leave, as I was leaving, people were like, wow, that poem was awesome. But see, at the time, I didn't have the books. So I'm like, oh man, they're like, where can I find this and that? And not only that, this little kid came up to me, he had to be about 8 years old. And I'm like, he was appreciative of what I read. And I was like, how do you understand something? What is going on with this child that he can understand that poem? And see, before that time, I was like, yo, I'm going to let my writing die with me because ain't nobody appreciating it. You know, we can't, I'm not throwing no shade, but it's like, And I'm not saying that we don't have just as much important things to say as Tupac and Biggie, but when I look at it, it's like people still holding on to what Tupac said. Do you know how powerful poets are? And if you guys sit here and allow a poet not to feed into your soul, do you know what you're missing out on? Yes, we know Tupac was great, but the world continues. And there are people that were born at the same time he was that had the same gift, but they weren't being heard. So now I'm like, look, I'll put my stuff in books now. Get the books. They're on Amazon. Thoughts of a Rising Soul and Thoughts of a Dying Soul. Thoughts of a Dying Soul, In My Darkest Hour. Thoughts of a Rising Soul is the newer poetry, but get the books. It's only going to help you. I just wish that my books were out before we lost a lot of people, because I know my words have power. I know my words have power. So I'm feeling like a lot of people are losing out because I know what pain feels like. I can tell somebody how to get over the troubled waters, how to navigate those waters, because I done been through a lot of stuff. Don't let society tell you who you are, especially my females out there. Don't let society tell you who you are. Know who you are. Know who you are. The things that you will tolerate, the things that you will not tolerate. Be who you want to be, not what people want you to be. Be who you want to be, not what people want you to be. And I bet you your life will be much happier. Okay? So listen to the thought poet, Laura Donnell. That's THAWTS, thought poet. The thought poet. Because I believe my words invoke thought. Get the books. You won't be sorry. I am trying to establish some kind of network where I can get to all the libraries. But you guys, as poets, we cannot do everything ourselves. If you can't afford the book, get me to the library where you live. I will bring the books. Alright? Not to say that they will be free, but I'm sure you will get a lesser price than what's on Amazon. Get the books. Thoughts of a Rising Soul, Thoughts of a Dying Soul, Laura Donnell. Talk to you soon. Peace.